Kennedy Legacy, a conversation with John F. Kennedy, Jr.
Hello. Welcome to this special presentation here on the History Channel. I'm Steve Gillen. John F. Kennedy's presidency lasted for a little over 1,000 days, but his political legacy and the spirit of his ideas continue to inspire individuals who have dedicated themselves to public life. Here to talk about the legacy of President John F. Kennedy is John F. Kennedy, Jr. Mr. Kennedy is an attorney, vice chairman of the Kennedy Library Foundation, and co-founder and editor-in-chief of George Magazine. John, welcome to the History Channel.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
John, this year marks the 80th anniversary of your father's birth. How is the family going to honor the occasion?
Well, the events are not really all that different than the events that occur every year around this time of year. And one of the focuses of my family has been to focus attention on my father's birth and not so much on his death. In keeping with that, the Profiles in Courage Award recipient will be announced, and there will be a ceremony and an occasion at the library, the Kennedy Library in Massachusetts, to mark that. There will also be an event at the Institute of Politics in the Kennedy School of Government, which was founded about the same time as the library, and there will be certain events around Boston. But those are the two real focuses that the family has used to mark the occasion of his birthday every year.
Now, every modern president since Herbert Hoover has a presidential library. What's interesting, though, is you have this Institute of Politics. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, the Institute, originally the Kennedy Library was intended to be built in Cambridge, and they expected a great deal of people, and Cambridge is a rather contained community, and ultimately it was decided that given the traffic and the congestion that would come to Cambridge, that it would be better to put the library at another point. But what they did do was that to develop the Institute of Politics, which is an institute within the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, and the intention was to bring the real-life practitioners of politics into the academic life of the larger Kennedy School of Government. So what they do is they're primarily focused on undergraduates to get them excited about politics, because Harvard was really where my father first became interested in politics and the issues of public life, and and the idea was to similarly inspire undergraduates. And then the idea is to bring fellows who've participated in politics either on the press side or the public policy side in to the Institute. They get a time of reflection, and they teach and they audit courses, but they also bring in people from the outside for the benefit of these undergraduates so they can get a real sense of what the real life art of politics is all about.
Would we recognize some of the names of the people who have been involved in the Institute?
Absolutely. I mean, there are, some Gaston Caperton, the former governor of West Virginia, is a fellow. Now Rick Burke, who is the New York Times national political correspondent, there's former governors and senators. There's frequently members of Congress who left public life, journalists, etc. So you try to get a mix on both sides, and there's usually about 6 fellows every 3 months.
And how about you? How about your involvement?
Well, I'm on the Senior Advisory Committee, which my mother was on, and she passed to me. And so it's a very interesting board to be on, because also the Institute has these forums where Bob Dole recently spoke there. It was actually the first time that he had spoken at Harvard. So you get a lot of politicians and discussions, and try to create a very vital, vibrant atmosphere, which is which is a good selling point for politics, because I think for undergraduates there aren't a lot of things that say, listen, this is something that you should really be interested in going to. They actually told me an interesting statistic, which was in 1964, 3/4 of the Harvard graduates polled said that they were going to do something that had some relationship to government. And in the last year they did a similar poll, and less than a quarter said the same thing. So I don't know if it means that the Institute of Politics isn't working or what, but clearly the need is there.
John, you mentioned the Profiles in Courage Award in the last segment. Can you tell me more about it?
Well, the Profiles in Courage Award was developed several years ago as a way of bringing the book Profiles in Courage to life. and it recognizes and awards, it is really the only award of its kind, an elected official who has displayed political courage, often at great personal cost and cost to their career, more often than not. Of course, the book profiles a number of American politicians who made difficult decisions, and more often than not, their careers ended as a result.
When did it start? When did you start?
I think it was about 8 years ago.
Why? Why was there?
Well, it was part of a larger effort, as I said before, to bring attention back to really my father's positive contributions to what he valued in public life, to recognize people that he would admire, to further the ideals of the Kennedy Library and his own political ideas, and not have it just be everyone focused on November.
Now, doesn't the award have a special design that sort of symbolizes?
Well, it's a lantern, and the idea is that the people who the award recognizes are, in a sense, lighting the way and are beacons, and I think do what a lot of people remember my father for doing, which is to make politics really a noble and an honorable profession, and to have by the power of their example to remind people of that.
Who are some of the people who've won the award?
Well, there's been a number. In the recent past, for instance, Lowell Weicker was the first governor of the state of Connecticut to pass progressive income tax. Florio, former governor of New Jersey, for his position on against assault weapons. And this year, we have Charles Price, who is a judge. He is the first African-American elected official so recognized. And basically what he did, there's, as you probably know, a controversy about a judge in Alabama who had the Ten Commandments on his wall and said that they were there expressly for a religious purpose, which, as you know, is
something about the Constitution.
Prohibited, arguably, by the Constitution, though a lot of folks in Alabama don't feel that way. And he actually, in an initial decision, said that if the Ten Commandments were there not for an express religious purposes, and that there were other religiously oriented material or icons, that they could stay. And then the judge said, no, actually they were there expressly for religious purposes. So he wrote an opinion commanding that they be taken down, which was a very unpopular one within the state. That judge that put it there became kind of a folk hero. Fob James, the governor of Alabama, said that he would call the National Guard in to defend this judge's right to keep the Ten Commandments there. So for a young judge who was elected and is facing re-election, it was a very brave and controversial decision to make.
How is it? How is the award? How are people chosen for the award? Or
they're actually, it's interesting because we try to. There's several layers. We first of all solicit nationally nominations from people by publishing advertisements in a number of magazines, George Magazine included, and then a committee of 50 academics primarily review that larger pool and come up with about 100 candidates. And then they are summarized and vetted, and then the committee goes through those and reviews them and ultimately comes up with its final decision.
Now, how much, I mean, a lot of this, the Institute of Politics, the Kennedy Library, the Profiles in Courage Award, are obviously efforts by the family to continue to define and continue your father's legacy.
Yeah.
But how much are the people involved in this process as well, and how much does the family define what the Kennedy legacy is and will be?
Well, I think that really what the effort is being made by the family and by others who were my father's contemporaries or others who believe in the mission of the library is to, my father was about activity.